Hello and welcome. This is Rappler Talk. I'm Maria Ressa. We're sitting with Senator Sonny Trillanes to talk about the probe into an alleged multi-million peso bank account of presidential frontrunner Rudy Duterte. Trillanes says Duterte did not declare this money in his statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALN. He supposedly kept about 227 million pesos in a Bank of the Philippine Islands, or BPI, account. Sitting with us today is Sonny Trillanes. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator Trillanes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Maria.
So tell me exactly, what did you find?
Okay, let me just correct your initial statements. It's not hundreds of millions, it's billions of pesos. So we found at least 2.4 billion pesos under the name of Mayor Rodrigo Duterte. And this is a joint account with his daughter, Sara. And these are accounts in BPI Julia Vargas and Green Hills.
How did you find these?
This was given to me by an informant. His name is Mr. Joseph De Mesa, or at least that's the name he gave to me. And before we actually met, he found a line to our group, the Magdalos, and I had somebody vet him first. And then when he was cleared to be legit, so they set up a meeting right away with me. So I met with him. He claims to be a relative of an official who belongs to an agency that's investigating erring public officials. So that's his claim, and he came in with a set of documents. So when he was cleared by the initial meeting by our companion, I focused on the documents.
Okay.
So we looked at the documents and had my sources validate the veracity of the information stored in the documents. And then when everything checked out, I gave it to the inquirer, who did their own checking and validation, and it got out.
Describe to me exactly what you found. How did where are these billions of pesos? How did they get them? And what has happened to them now?
It's a series of deposits, obviously, or I would conclude coming from a bigger account of unknown account holder. So we saw at least 700 million pesos of deposits or credits from this mother account. So these are inter-branch transfers. And then there are also over-the-counter deposits and other forms of credit memos. So the total of all these credit transactions would amount to 2.4 billion pesos.
2.4 billion pesos. And in terms of how this money, do you have an idea how this money came into these accounts?
We're looking into at least two leads. Right now, my lawyers are preparing a case to be filed in relation to violation of the Anti-Graft and Corruption and Practices Act. So that's one. And the other is we are still pursuing, but apparently Mayor Duterte has links also in the illegal drug trade in Davao City.
Illegal drug trade. And how long have these billions of pesos been there? I mean, were you able to gauge a time from when it began to, is it still going on now?
From 2006 to 2015. So that's why what we've been asking for, in the interest of truth and transparency, is the transaction history of these accounts. And Mayor Duterte, for all his bravado, suddenly became tongue-tied when faced with this issue. And he's been calling me names, but still, he didn't show up last Monday. I challenged him to prove me wrong. And if I'm wrong with the information I gave, then I would automatically resign from the Senate and lose my face. I won't be able to face anyone anymore. I believe that's how sure I am with the accuracy and truthfulness of my information.
In terms of his reaction, he claimed that in 7 days, that at least from the time when you guys had the challenge, let's call it the BPI challenge, when you had that in 7 days the bank would release his records. Are you surprised by that?
Well, it's a smokescreen. It's a diversion. They're just stalling time. He could have easily showed up and showed to the whole world that his hands are clean, that he's not hiding anything, that he is transparent, he is honest. But he missed it. That's what people should take away from that incident. This lawyer, he said, this lawyer who is deceptive right from the very start, he didn't even give a copy of the SPA to the media, right? He just showed the last page of the SPA and had it photographed. But even in that, you can see that they only requested for one account balance for one account, and a certification that this account didn't have any balance exceeding 211 million. And if BPI now would find out that this account had balances exceeding 211 million, then it wouldn't give a certification, right? Plus, the waiver that was attached to this SPA, it's a pro forma waiver of the BPI, is for the bank officials of BPI to release information requested in the SPA to the lawyer, not to the public.
Yes.
So there's a difference. What we've been asking for is a waiver so that the public can scrutinize this account. But what they showed is an SPA requesting for specific information in those accounts to be released only to the lawyer. And when I asked the lawyer, will you release it to me? He said he won't, because he will have to report it to his client, which is Mayor Duterte. So there's a play with words here. But at the end of the day, he didn't show up.
Yep.
I gave him a challenge. It's very important right now in this phase of the campaign that we're looking for an honest leader first and foremost. We're looking for a leader who's not corrupt. Mm-hmm. And he fashions himself as such. So this was important in the decision-making of our voters.
When we were talking about this just before the cameras came on, I mean, you see this as opening Pandora's box.
Yes.
And so what's the picture of Rudy Duterte that you see after you've gone through these documents?
Everything was just a lie. Everything was purely propaganda. His campaign is a lie. He is a fraud. He is as corrupt as the Binies. In fact, I believe, based on what I've been seeing, he is actually the Binay of Davao City. I would have to admit that prior to this, he was never known to be widely corrupt. Yes.
Right.
And just like the Binies also, I didn't believe he was that corrupt until I saw the evidence myself. Now, in this particular case, we can see a pattern. Both of them are political dynasties, and they've been entrenched in these cities for decades, and they control the city councils. That's why they can do whatever they want.
A survey released today by ABSCBN shows Rudy Duterte significantly ahead by at least 10 percentage points. Are you surprised by this?
No, because the people bought the lie. They bought the propaganda. If you would trace now back to when he first floated the name, you can see that they were following a script. They initially released the results of this bogus survey of the safest city in the world, which apparently when we researched, there are only 400 plus respondents, most of them coming from their trolls. So they were able to jack up Davao City to number 9, then had it released in the local media and sponsored in social media. So there was a subconscious inception of this fake report.
That was crowdsourcing. We actually looked at that, and yes, that's correct. It wasn't legitimate.
They gave the perception that indeed Davao City was the safest city, one of the safest cities in the world. But when we looked at the legitimate list of safest cities in the world, Davao City is nowhere to be found, even in the top 1,000 safest cities. So it was based on that lie, and then after that, when they have injected that input, they started creating this clamor for Duterte to run. Remember, he initially was hesitant. He was the reluctant candidate, to the point that he allowed the filing period to pass without filing that his candidacy, so that he's what's the term now, nagpapasabik sa mga Filipinos, and we love that the teleserye moments like that. So not knowing, the public not knowing that he really had the plan, and they were just following a script, until eventually he came up with this flimsy excuse for running, that he can't afford to have an American, former American citizen being a president of the country. It's one of the flimsiest excuses to run ever, but people glossed over that.
What's in it for you, Sonny? I mean, there are tons of conspiracy theories that abound. What's in it for you? Why are you doing this?
Well, this is my job. You know, Maria, where I started. This is not new to me. If it were up to me, I'd avoid big battles like this. I'm risking my life in this thing. But apparently, this is where fate always lead me to. So I'm just up for it.
And no one supporting you, no one backing you.
Those are the same questions they ask every time I come up with. I face big political monsters. They asked that during Oakwood. They asked that when I faced the generals, then Binay, then Enrile, then now Duterte. But every time, there's nobody behind me. It's just me and my group, the Magdalos. We're just being consistent.
But in Oakwood, for example, there were politicians who had backed the Magdalo group.
Yes.
We saw the sacks of rice there. We were
Yes,
together
but
then.
they had a different plan. But the
Yes.
Oakwood was ours.
Yes. No,
That's
you
why-
were an idealist.
Yes.
So let's go back to here. What do you expect to happen? I mean, the bank account won't. This information will be out after Election Day. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And what I hear you saying is that this is actually planned that way.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen? What will happen if Duterte wins?
If Duterte wins and the truth will come out, definitely it will come out in a couple of weeks, then I'll show to the people, now you have been shortchanged. Now what will the people do when they see and feel that they have been shortchanged? We leave it up to them. Like I said yesterday in a press conference, that Filipinos have found creative ways of dealing with such situations. So I'll have to wait and see. Remember, even if he wins and we'll know the results, I think around mid-May, he will only take his oath on June 30. So there's that period of time wherein people can do what they need to do.
In the meantime, what will you do from now until you're convinced that this is Pandora's box?
Definitely.
What do you want to happen then?
I want the people to open their eyes. They believed me when I investigated and I showed the evidence against Binay's. But since it's not convenient for them to believe me anymore, they're trying to justify the actions and this information of regarding Duterte. So there's some intellectual dishonesty going on around the Duterte supporters, but we're looking at the moderates, those who have really no basis to vote for Duterte, that they just rode the wave, so to speak. So we're still hoping that they will change their minds.
Fantastic. Sonny, thank you. Thank you for coming with us. We've been speaking with Senator Sonny Trillanes about this billions of pesos allegedly siphoned into the accounts of presidential candidate Rudy Duterte. He is the front runner, up by about 10 percentage points in the latest survey. We're going to go back for more soon. I'm Maria Ressa. Stay tuned to Rappler. We'll be back. Thank you. We're going to go get the other side of